All right, so we're still on Chapter 10, and now we're going to learn about issuing bonds payable. There's a few things we kind of have to get the lay of the land first. Remember in the last video that I said that it takes time between the bond indenture agreement getting written up and approved and maybe when the bonds are actually issued. And during that time you could have a change in the interest rates, so that you're going to have a stated interest rate on the bond itself that might be different from the market rate when those bonds are issued. Okay, so because of that discrepancy, there's three basic things that can happen when we issue bonds. The first thing is we could issue a $100,000 face value bond, and we could get $100,000 when we issue it. We could also issue those bonds, and we could issue a $100,000 bond, and that's the amount we're going to have to pay back. But instead of just getting 100, we could get 102,000. And then sort of the sadder situation is we could have to pay back 100,000, but when we issue the bonds, people are only willing to pay 98,000 for them. All right, so we know that these journal entries, that number 1, number 2, and 3 here, just won't fly because our debits always have to equal our credits, and just to have them down here for, this amount of time is, So we know we've got to somehow balance these out. So basically, when we're issuing the bond and we get more than the face value of the bond, we're going to say that these bonds were issued at a premium. People were willing to pay more for the bonds than we're going to have to pay them back. Okay, so here, to balance this out, we would say we're going to have to pay back 100,000, and we've also got an account called premium on bonds payable of 2,000, and then our journal entry is okay. Down here, the sadder situation is we would say we issued at a discount, so we would have an account called discount on bonds payable. So in any case, we're going to have to pay back the $100,000. When they're issued at face value, we get $100,000. We get the face value when we issue them. That's the proceeds of the bond equals the face value. So I got a few terms over here. Okay, now when they're issued at a premium, we're getting more money, and we still only have to pay back the $100,000. When they're issued at a discount, we're only getting like 98, and we got to pay back the full 100. Okay, so now I guess the next question is, why would that happen? And so if we think about this, if our company, why would people pay more? Why would people pay 102 when we're only going to pay them back 100? So here you have to think about the stated interest rate versus the market rate. If people are willing to pay more for our bonds, how the bonds work is that we're going to pay back, say it's a 10-year bond, we would pay back the 100,000 at the end of every 10 years, but over those 10 years, twice a year, we would pay those bondholders interest based on the stated interest rate of the bond. So, if people are willing to pay more, chances are our bonds are paying more in their stated interest rate than other similar bonds on the market. In other words, other bonds on the market might be paying only 8% interest, but we're paying 10%. So over the years, they're going to get 10% interest every they'll get 10% interest each year, as opposed to other companies that might be paying them less. And obviously, that you factor in risk and all of that here. So they're willing to pay more for our bonds. In this case, where they're not willing to pay as much for our bonds as other bonds on the market, well, chances are maybe the market rate is 10%, but maybe we're only paying 8%. And so compared to other bonds that these investors could buy, we're not as good. Okay, we're not going to be as profitable. So these are the three basic things that can happen here. So if the bond proceeds the bond issue price, okay, bond issue price, bond proceeds, is equal to the face value of the bond. We say that was issued at the face value, and that means that the stated interest rate is probably equal to the market rate. So that just say, you know, the stated rate is 10% and it equals the market rate of 10%. Here, where the proceeds, see I'm getting all this vocab in here, the proceeds of the bond issue are more than the face value of the bond, chances are here that, and I'm going to say this is the stated rate, this is what we're paying on our bonds, and this is the market rate, okay? Maybe our stated rate is 10% and the market rate is, this is greater than the market rate of 10% that they could get buying similar bonds. In this case, the proceeds are less than the face value, and so chances are that our interest rate is less than the market interest rate. Okay? So that just gives you a little bit of background on what can happen. The book, when they're talking about the issue price of bonds, will use the terminology issued at 100%, or issued at 100. That means it was issued at face value, 100% of the face value. This one would have been issued at, this one we would say it was issued at 102. So that means that when you have a homework assignment that says it was issued at 102, the cash proceeds are going to be the face value of the bonds times 1.02. All right? This one, we would say, was issued at 98, which means you would take the 100,000 times 0.98, and that would give you the proceeds. Now, obviously, I have picked an even number here, so that comes out real nice. If you've got a $450,000 bond, the numbers aren't going to be quite as neat, but it works the same way. Whatever the value, the face value of the bond is, you multiply it by, the 1.02 or by the 0.98 or whatever percentage it was issued at. Okay, so I think we're ready now to take a more detailed look at how it works to issue bonds at their face value, at a premium, and a discount. Okay.